Upfront and Personal, written and read by Coleen Nolan. Sitting in the dressing room, I studied my reflection. Not bad, actually. A makeup artist had just done her very best to hide the dark circles under my eyes, carefully cultivated by years of running around after 3 kids. She'd also painted my lips a bright shade of peachy pink, and appeared to have created the illusion that I actually had cheekbones. I was impressed. Now the resident loose women hairdresser Lee Din was doing a sterling job on the bird's nest of hair I'd stepped off the train with at the crack of dawn this morning, crafting it into something halfway decent. "It's good to have you back, Coleen," he smiled, catching my eye in the mirror. "It's good to be back," I replied, trying to channel calm thoughts. Everything was riding on this moment. Just months earlier I'd felt down and miserable, convinced my TV career was all but over. At 38 I was washed up, unemployable, tarred by the brush of a failed stint presenting on This Morning, and very worried about the future. My partner, Ray, was working hard, and I was taking every job I could get, but I had a family to support and we needed the stability of a regular income, and I needed a chance to prove myself once more. So one night I lay in bed trying to think of all the positive things I could do instead of panicking. I had to think of a plan, an escape route to where I wanted to be. I suddenly remembered that I had a business card for a lady called Diane Nelms, a big boss on ITV daytime. So the next morning, after I'd seen my sons, Shane Jr. and Jake, off to school, and wiped porridge off my toddler Kira's chin, I rummaged through a drawer of junk until eventually I located Diane's dog-eared card. Then, managing to fire up the family computer, I typed in her email address and carefully constructed a light-hearted message. "Well, I've done the stay-at-home mum thing," I wrote, "but even the kids are begging me to go back to work, so if you hear of anything, then please let me know." I didn't think she'd reply, but she did, promptly, with some great news, that Loose Women, a series I'd worked on 2 years before, was coming back on air. "I'll let them know you'd be interested in taking part," she promised. Now here I was, weeks later, gearing up for my moment, my one big chance to prove myself once more. "10-minute call, Coleen," a runner said, popping her head round the door. Standing up, I smoothed down my blouse, and taking a deep breath, I walked down the long corridor of ITV's South Bank studios to reach the Loose Women set. Next to me appeared my old friend and Loose Women anchor, presenter Kay Adams. Then the other presenters, Carol McGiffin and Jenny Trent Hughes. 2 minutes, a producer dashed past, indicating with his fingers. I smiled at Kay, but immediately felt my stomach churn. Then suddenly we were given the green light, and I was walking out into the studio. There was a sea of smiling faces as the audience cheered. I could feel the heat of the bright studio lights on my face. Excitement and exhilaration rushed through me like an electric current. I was back on the map. I made my singing debut when I was 2 years old, at Christmas 1967 at the ABC Theatre in Blackpool in front of about 2,000 old-age pensioners. I had a long nightie on and was clutching my teddy. Everyone looked at me and said, "Ah." Then I sang Santa Claus is Coming to Town to rapturous applause. For years before I came along, my older brothers and sisters had joined my parents in an act called the Singing Nolans. Work could be sporadic in Dublin, so in 1962 the family crossed the Irish Sea, relocating to Blackpool in search of more regular work. It turned out to be a canny move. Mum and Dad were both very talented singers. My mum, Maureen, trained as a soprano at the Royal Irish Academy. She met my dad, Tommy, while they were both performing at Cleary's Ballroom in Dublin. They married a year later and went on to form a 2-piece act called Tommy and Maureen, the Sweethearts of Song. When I arrived in the Nolan household as baby number 8, there was no room at the inn, so my dad emptied out a drawer in the bedroom and that was my cot. "I hope you put me in the top drawer at least," I asked my mum years later. "No, the bottom drawer," she replied. Well, isn't that the story of my life? I was born on the 12th of March 1965 at Glenroyd Maternity Hospital in Blackpool. All my siblings, Tommy, Anne, Denise, Maureen,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?